Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode number 15 of Playing with House Money on the Toilets to Titles Network. It is Thursday. This is our new slot. Find us here every Thursday through football season. I'm Iceman at Iceman_1013. And this is my co-host DJ Prue at PrueBaby10. How are you doing today, my man?
Man, it was a rough week one, but I'm glad to be here. I'll tell you that much. Glad to be here.
Good stuff. I didn't realize until I was actually going through it that this is episode number 15. That is not why I wore the 15 jersey today. That is just purely coincidental.
Yeah, and shout out Presley for the jersey as well.
Yeah, that's actually why I wore it. Presley's picks went 1-0, just about. There was a period in the third quarter when I was like, oh boy, they're not even going to win the game, let alone cover the spread. But yeah, shout out to Duval. They got the job done.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Anthony Richardson didn't look terrible for fantasy purposes. I mean, he looks like he's going to be very serviceable if you picked him up in, late rounds.
Yeah, for sure, especially
in a super flex leagues.
That was exactly what I was going to say, especially in Superflex. I mean, the rushing, he looked a lot more poised too. He's against a good defense. Yeah, he should have a chance. It got ugly for the Jacksonville, at one point, and then the rosters and experience kind of came to light in the fourth quarter. So yeah, shout out Press. She's 100% win percentage. So. That's exactly what we like as gamblers, especially, huh?
Yeah. That ETN, I did like that ETN touchdown. I put the icing on the cake there. Like, goes one way, came out. It's like, no, not going to go through there. Went the other way. That was, yeah. I mean, I like him. I did pick him up in a lot of formats this year. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got ETN 3 times. I actually have him paired with Christian McCaffrey twice, and that wasn't even his best play of the game. His best play of the game is him running down the sideline to catch a pan plate block on the touchdown. What a showing. I think them trying to take away his backfield is a little crazy, but what a game. Shout out Duval, and Presley wasn't the only one with a couple of decent winners this week.
No. We kicked off with an absolute, I don't know, belter, steamer, whatever you want to call it. Thursday night football. A week ago, you called, like, we were talking, and which one did I? Yeah, there was all that talk around Travis Kelce being out, Noah Gray being the one that everyone's going to pick up, and I was like, I'm not having it. I am not having this Noah Gray hype. Like, no disrespect to Noah Gray. He's a decent player, but he's not Travis Kelce. And Patrick Mahomes was not throwing in the ball 17 times a game like he throws the ball to Kelce. So we did a little bit of a, fade the public kind of thing. Everyone was on him. We just picked Mr. Blake, the other tight end that was going to be on the field. And I went a little bit OTT with pairing him with another one of the Chiefs receivers. The problem with that Chiefs receiver room, as we saw, is that you picked Rashee Rice to put in your parlay. I went with the guy they got from the Giants, and I should have just. My fade New York thing is probably going to extend to the NFL from the MLS, to be perfectly honest with you, after the Giants showing on Sunday. But Richie James is who I paired him with. But you took him with Rashee Rice, and then who was the third one you added in there?
David Montgomery, and
because he was the one that we needed, right?
Because I knew Detroit was, even when they got down to the red zone, if Jahmyr Gibbs was not in the slot, I would have been astonished. You just you don't pay a running back like David Montgomery and not give him, inside the 10 and 20. And then luckily, I mean, we didn't even get that opportunity until he breaks a run late in the game for the touchdown. So yeah, shout out Monty. That was probably the only former Chicago Bear and or current Chicago Bear to make my week. But yeah, we had those three. Rashee Rice, after his camp and seeing him at SMU, I just knew that kid's a baller. He's a big target, and he seems to always be in the right place at the right time for red zone plays. So yeah, that three pairing was a plus 6,500 to start the year off.
And
talk about a statement. But
yeah, statement absolutely on Thursday Night Football. And then, hey, Sunday, I don't know that Sunday went particularly how anyone thought it was going to go, like across the board. I mean, about as close as I got on Sunday, the first wave of games. I mean, I had Brandon Ayuk, first touchdown scorer, and to score twice. Unfortunately, I paired it with David Njoku. Just don't really know why. I had both of them in a fourfold, and yeah, Ayuk was really the only one that I think there was like 6 or 7 players I had down for touchdowns in those first games, and he was the only one of the lot that scored.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, lots to digest. But we did go into that, the Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening games. I mentioned the Giants. Like, I'm not going to talk about them too much because, hey, it wasn't them that cashed me. It was the Dallas Cowboys on the other side. Like, at halftime, was it 33 at halftime, or did they score? Pollard scored right out the gates in the second half, didn't he? I think, and made it 33-0.
Yes.
And at that point, I was already looking at it at halftime. I was like, hey, like at 26, 27-0, the Cowboys are going to let Juice have a go. They're going to let a couple of the lesser known receivers, Jake Ferguson's probably going to see a lot more looks in the second half. He'd already been involved in the first half. But yeah, we went with the man Turpin. Like, he's the kick returner, but he'd had one look. He'd had one kind of rush in the first half. They'd given him the ball. He'd thrown the ball at him. I was like, hey, you know what? Plus 2,200. If this game, like, the Giants weren't getting back into it, let's take. We took a stab at the 3 of those guys for, I think it was Rico Dowdle plus 900. We took any time. Jake Ferguson plus 750, and then Turpin at plus 2,200. He was at halftime. By the time I'd got on, after Pollard had scored his touchdown, it was plus 2,800. Anytime touchdown scorer. We posted those in the Discord, and boom, a couple of plays later, Dak just gave him the ball, and that was a nice end to Sunday when Sunday hadn't been that great for us in across the board. All honestly, on a betting front. Apart from the Jags, obviously, covered the spread for Presley, but I'm not going to claim that as my own.
Yeah, Turpin's electric, man. He gets anytime he has the ball in his hand, it's a dangerous play for anybody. So that was a crazy call. Really saved the week. For us, so, we can't all be Presley, so it really worked out. And then nice cleanup crew on Monday. Shout out to Ice for releasing his veins.
Yeah, I mean, it was a plus 700. We just did Diggs anytime, Josh Allen rushing yards, Alan Lazard receiving, and Breece Hall receiving. And hey, like, Diggs got on the board early, like everyone fully expected. Horrible to see Aaron Rodgers, what happened to him. And I absolutely feel for the Jets organization, the fans. I know a lot of them, obviously. But yeah, I was just very intrigued to see what he was going to do and what this Jets team was going to be fully capable of this season with Aaron Rodgers, MVP quarterback, at the helm. And, that's taken away from him after 4 snaps. So be interesting to see what moves they make in free agency now, if they go after, one of those quarterbacks that we know are out there that are not starting elsewhere in the league, or what they do. But fortunately for us on the gambling side, like, the game still goes on, and hey, like, Breece Hall looked phenomenal with the ball in his hands, coming back from his ACL injury. He got a nice 20-yard catch and run early in the second half, left us literally for this. It was a plus 700. We boosted it 50% profit boost on DK to plus 1050, and just left us needing like 5 or 6 Josh Allen rushing yards in the second half. And the man did not just continue to throw picks into the end zone, trying to find Stephon Diggs for the second to put the game to bed. And hey, like, we saw what happened. They came back, and he finally decided to go on a 7-8 yard rush, I think, on the last drive of regulation to get them the field goal to take it to overtime. So yeah, that was much sweatier than it should have been at halftime. But yeah, again, a nice way to end the weekend. Sorry, cashed on Thursday, cashed on Sunday, cashed on Monday. We can't ask for any more than that.
For sure. All 4-figure odds as well to really clean it up. So yeah, can't complain. We neglected the MLB a little more than I wanted to this weekend, but we do have some good stuff coming up. We're gonna jump right back into it after seeing week 1. The jitters and whatnot of fantasy and week 1, your teams and whatnot kind of, took over, especially with just gambling community in general. But I mean, this is the nitty gritty in the MLB. These are the teams that are playing their best, like right now. They're playing the best lineups. They're playing best. We don't have to worry about, Andy Reid starting his third running back. We don't have to worry about the weird stuff. So I am really looking forward to this one, only because we get a couple great matchups. First off, I'll mention the primetime matchup on the West Coast. It's Seattle and the Dodgers. If anybody's been keeping up with the Dodgers as much as we have, they do score runs, but they sure do give up a lot of runs too. You see the Dodgers in a lot of like 7-7 games late and stuff like that. So that always tells you, you want to bet on those games, especially if you want SGPs or a couple easy legs, stuff like that. So really excited to see that matchup in general. I'm sure we'll see, Kirby on the mound and Bryce Miller and whatnot. They might actually even end up facing off tomorrow night. But I really like that series. Obviously, everyone knows Seattle's batting very well. It did kind of take it cooled off a little bit, but that's natural. You can't keep up with the pace that they were playing at. So really like that one. And then another one for gambling purposes, you get the San Diego Padres and the Oakland A's. As you know, if you guys follow me and Ice at all, we don't really like betting on the Padres much at all. But
we do not.
They've been solid. There's been a couple of them that have been solid. I guess they're worth risking a couple bucks on, I guess, is my best.
Against the A's. Against the A's especially, right? Like
against the Oakland A's especially.
Even if it's, we might take the A's money line because the fraudulent Padres might show up.
I was gonna say, and honestly, sometimes San Diego's pitching ain't that great either, and Oakland hangs runs every once in a while. So
yeah.
We'll have some fun with that series, I'm sure. But then we also get a couple that are just good gambling, just simply good gambling matchups. You get Toronto and Boston. I don't know if anybody pays attention to Boston lately, or I guess even really Toronto, but Boston gives up a lot of runs, and Toronto, if you pick your right guys, you'll find some total base value, even some multi-hit value. So with Bo back, if you catch George Springer on the right days, Vlad I've kind of steered away from a little bit, only because of the consistency, but Dalton Varshaw's been very good. So that's going to be a matchup where, if you catch Boston on there, they're good players on that day, where Devers is a little hard to read, and Justin Turner's a little hard to read, but they're still producing. That's going to be a good one for gamblers. And then you get the Houston Astros against the Kansas City Royals. So that one kind of speaks for itself right there. Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve has been lights out lately. So that's another fun one.
Yeah, for sure. No, looking forward to diving back. Like you said, we kind of cooled off a little bit last weekend. Lots of stuff going on. On the other side of things, everyone really into, like you said, first week of fantasy, all of that kind of stuff kicking off and the NFL. But hey, we're back. The MLB stuff, like you said, it's been our bread and butter for the last 3 months. So we'll continue. Just interesting to see what you've got. And like we said, we're getting to the business end of the season for some of these teams, and the better lineups makes it so much easier for us to pick through and find the value there. But if you want any of our other content, anything related to fantasy football, anything related to college, the CFB Nation, anything like that, we're on toiletstotitles.com. Over on Gilded, the group chat, there's 225 people in there talking about all types of things fantasy related, start sit advice, trade advice, what to do in the fantasy world, who to steal if you're in Frankenstein, and how to play that. Shout out Prue, won his first ever matchup in Frankenstein this week. Shout out to Mumra, who didn't
tank. He's Arizona, y'all. He's tanking week 1. He's tank.
There's method to the madness. There's method to the madness. I'm not concerned. But yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Throw us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, however it is you're getting your podcasts. And again, like I said, if you want to jump in the Gilded, let us know. Huge amount of football discussion in there. And if you want to join the Discord and get some of Prue's actual MLB plays this weekend, then again, hit either one of us up. We've got a special offer going on in the month of September. If you use the code NFL Kickoff, you get in and you get your first month for free. See what we're all about. Win some of these 4-figure bets with us. That'll cover your $10 a month that you'll pay from then on. But yeah, find us at PW_house money for all of that stuff. And then tomorrow afternoon, not tomorrow night, Playing with House Money present the SGC, ready to bounce back into league soccer. New episode tomorrow afternoon. Don't miss that one. But yeah, we're back in full swing over on the soccer side as well. So yeah, just a big weekend in general coming up. Talking of big weekends, you don't really like too much on the college side this weekend, huh?
No, matchup wise, I guess would be my best way of saying it. It's the first few weeks, like I said, the last few, it's just been, you don't get matchups where you're just like, man, I can't wait to watch that game. Which makes it tough in college, especially gambling wise, for me at least. Because you go on the sports book and you look at it, and they're like Alabama by 46.5, and you're like, what? Yeah, it's just like, but then it's also it's they do those lines, and you're like, you don't want to take the under, you don't want to take the plus, because then it's then Alabama hangs 60. So it's tough for me to responsibly give like advice to put money on those matchups. So no, I don't like many of them. I think the one team, especially after week 1, that I'll tell everyone to put their mortgage on is Florida State. And no, I'm not biased. I'm not biased at all. It's not any biases here. They're just real, I guess. Hey, it is what it is. It's been 9-10 years since we could say that, but they play Boston College this weekend. And shout out to my boy Nino. I know he'll be locked in for that game. And I hate to break his heart, but I think we're gonna have to come into Boston and do what we got to do. So we'll see. I like that game simply because it's been the history of it, especially the last few years. Boston College has given us a game. I mean, I think even when I was watching like Matt Ryan back when he was at Boston College, like it's always a tough fought game. I just think that roster over in Florida State is just it's a little too deep for them, and the spread's at 49.5 when I checked, or the totals at 49.5. I like that. Over under at 49 on the head right now. So I love that over. You can take Florida State at -20, and I won't call you crazy, but I won't be the one to tell you to do it. But for over 49, I love that. They hang 45 on LSU. I suppose it's good defense. I just really like them to hang enough points to at least give that over a chance. And then shout out to the hometown boys. It's Illinois against Penn State this weekend. Penn State's obviously one of those teams that they're supposed to be, a blue blood and big in the Big Ten and whatnot. So Illinois gave up about 500 yards week one. They won the game. I think it was like 417 yards or something like that they gave up week one. Yeah. They won the game, but it doesn't really matter. And then they lost to Kansas last week. If you follow college football, Kansas is a school that used to not win any games all year. So Penn State, they're 2-0. They've dominated, and as of right now, their line is only 14.5. Their spread line is only 14.5. I really like Penn State -14.5 against that Illinois team. Giving up that many points, I just don't see them scoring on a sound defense enough to keep up with that when that defense is really just, they can't stop a parked car right now. So those are the two that I'm really paying attention to. The other teams they're just not playing it. Like I'm not betting against Bethune and like Southern Miss and stuff. It's not worth it. So so week 3, that'd be the only two that I'm like gonna put money on.
That's fair enough, man. I get it, and I think I was looking through the NFL slate, and I kind of feel the same way. Like after week 1, what we've just seen, like going into only week 2 and trying to go, hey, like, I'm used to looking at soccer slates where I'm trying, where I've got 12 choices and I'm trying to narrow that down to 3. Like today, like when I'm looking at the NFL slate and I'm going, I need to get to 3. Like at the moment, I've got like 2. Yeah. Which one? Like, how do I get the other one? Because there's just a lot of questions to be answered, and I think that's going to be a lot of this weekend. Is like, hey, these teams have got to answer some questions. Hey, Cleveland Browns, went in and dominated against the Bengals, which we didn't expect to happen. Like, Bengals have a lot of questions to answer this weekend.
Burrow signs $275 million and comes out and just. Holy shit.
As a Chiefs fan, that made me happy because obviously we played Thursday night. We lost to the Lions, and all I saw on Twitter was the Bengals fans saying about Patrick Mahomes' second half performance, Joe Burrow would never. And then I was like, and then Joe Burrow rocks up with 87 total yards or whatever it was.
82.
82.
Don't even give him that. Don't even give him that 5 yards. 82, bro. My fantasy team was confused.
82 total yards, and it was like, oh, Joe Burrow would never, huh?
Did you see Myles Garrett Euro step his offensive line? No. I'm gonna send you that video. Myles Garrett was in it at home on Sunday. That man is literally pre-snap Euro stepping, like he's putting a basketball through his legs, pre-snap, and then goes and sacks Joe Burrow. Cleveland has a lot of questions to answer. That was an embarrassing outing. And don't get me wrong, Cleveland's roster is not bad. We just didn't know what questions they would answer. But Cincinnati needs to be embarrassed.
And Cincinnati are at home this weekend, but they're up against a Ravens team that I don't think it's going to be as easy as -200 on the money line. The books are making it sound for the Bengals.
Right.
Like, Lamar Jackson's going to go in there knowing that, hey, this is a real opportunity for us to to show like what we're about this season. Hey, J.K. Dobbins, another unfortunate injury week 1. Hey, got himself a touchdown. He looked real good, and then bang, another Achilles. Yeah. So you haven't got him, but you've got Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, rocked up with 2 touchdowns. You know, they've got Zay Flowers, who looked, the business.
Real deal.
Yeah. Him and Addison, both rookies. I went back and forth between those in a lot of drafts. They both looked, like you say, the real deal. So OBJ catching a couple of balls out there. Like, if Mark Andrews back this weekend? Do we know?
They assume so. They thought he'd play week 1. It's just it's week 1, so why risk it? But for all signs point to yes, but you never know. Yeah, we'll know. Yeah. We'll know Saturday night. So
and therefore like that's not an easy game for the Bengals when they've got like that pressure on them. That like
by any means
in Cincinnati is going to be huge.
Because if they lose that game, right? And don't get me wrong, Lamar didn't look phenomenal, but they at least they hold their own, and their defense is very sound. Another divisional game back to back. So it's just divisional games back to back for Cincy. They cannot lose this game.
Yeah.
So it's just there's going to be a lot of questions to get answered. I do like that game, but then shout out to the jersey you have on. That's probably going to be the best game we see this weekend. Chiefs Jags.
Yeah,
yep.
I mean, I
like Jacksonville.
I like Jacksonville.
You like Jacksonville.
Plus 134 on the money line. I know exactly what you're going to say. Patrick Mahomes is not going to go 0-2.
That's not what I was going to say at all, actually.
Oh. But
I just don't think Jacksonville's defense is going to be able to keep up with Andy Reid enough. And I guess I'll say it like this. I'm not so concerned about Pat Mahomes starting 0-2. I don't think Andy Reid is going to give the team a game plan to even be like that close. Like 20-21. Detroit should have hung 40 on Kansas City on Thursday. Chris Jones being off of that field gave them such cake looks on defense. I just cannot believe they did not at least put up 28 plus. I won't get too far into it, but Jared Goff has got to see the field. He could have just destroyed that defense. Those looks he got, he could have just. So with Kansas City, I don't think they're going to play that soft with Chris Jones back. Monday, Kansas City didn't even wait for waivers to process. They had him signed. So
he was there, right? I think I watched.
He was at the game.
He was at the game, and then it was like.
And at the game,
Yeah, but no, I think that's obviously gonna be a big one. One of the biggest numbers on the board for totals. I think the biggest number on the board for totals this weekend, 51.5, is where it's at on FanDuel right now. Yeah, it's the biggest one. It's very high. But these two offenses.
I was gonna say, actually, I like that. I like 52.
Yeah, and it's minus 105 as well, so it's decent value on that. But yeah, I think another it's Thursday afternoon. We record this earlier in the week, so hey, we don't know. But tonight, Thursday night football, the Vikings are in Philadelphia. The Vikings have their own questions to answer.
No, they don't.
No, you don't.
You have Kirk Cousins.
I do.
You have Kirk Cousins. He's the greatest worst quarterback of all time. He will give you 400 yards of greatness.
Yeah.
And then his pants are at his ankles for the other 25%. Like not even, it's 7% of the game. His pants are around his ankles 7% of the game. Kirk needs to just put it all together. The problem is you have a premier receiver that you have to get the ball, but you also know is getting the doubles. And Jordan Addison, I think, really will make a huge difference, but it's the same as Adam Thielen in my eyes. I think it's one of those where, Adam Thielen and Kirk Cousins had a great relationship. He's not going to not throw him the ball. Thielen's running good routes. He's open. I just don't think it gives them that dynamic. And then with Alexander Mattison on the ground, just not enough against that Philly front. Their defense will be better. They got Flores out there this year, don't they? In Minnesota, very good defensive coach, very good defensive schemes. But it's Philly, and I think Philly's front seven on defense is just nasty. I just don't think it's even close for that. So I think Kirk Cousins is working for his life. And it's a primetime game. Have you ever seen Kirk Cousins play in primetime?
I've seen Kirk Cousins play in primetime many times. So, yeah, I mean, I was not sold on Alexander Mattison being the RB1 anyway. Like week one again, don't get me wrong, the Bucs defense is also decent and has to step up when, we talked last week about, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin potentially still being good enough wide receivers to be fantasy worthy. And Mike Evans went 100 yards on a TD. Godwin only 60 or so yards, I think, but they can't both go off every week. That's even the same with Brady there. They weren't both going off. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think it will be, Hawk got a decent amount of looks this week. He will again in this game. Sure. But my big questions, I think, and you'd already answered one of these in the chat the other day about the Eagles, about Dallas Goedert and DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
The Eagles, what were 17-0 up in the first quarter, I think, against the New England Patriots. I basically stopped paying attention to that game at that point. I thought that was good night. I had the Eagles to win but minus 9.5. And then all of a sudden, Mac Jones has thrown for 300 yards. They've got the ball back, and they're only down by a score. So, I mean, the Eagles, we all know the Eagles' offense. But I looked at the, what's your take on one, Dallas Goedert? I know you've already told me, but, for the people at home that are concerned about the fact that he got, I think, one look.
Yeah, Week one and the schemes you're going to see, I'll make this as quick as I can and simple for people. But Dallas Goedert having 0 yards and 0 catches does not concern me. You get 2 premier receivers on the outside for Philadelphia, one of which is a huge, target. AJ Brown is a very big target, so you're going to see a lot of deep shots. You're going to see a lot of jump balls to him, and then Devontae Smith is just a route. He will route any defense up if you let him. He's going to run all your stem routes, run into the gaps. So that means you have to pay attention to those two. Typically, when you have a guy like A.J. Brown on the outside, you want to run, as much man as you can and bump around on the outside as you can, and then shade him with the safety help. So it's considered a double team, but it's really a safety shade, and then you play a zone on the routes that are underneath. So sometimes you want to scheme certain positions out of games, and typically your tight end is who takes the fall and or gets the boost for those. New England always plays tight ends very well. They play a lot of cover 2, a lot of cover 4, a lot of cover 6. So they sit in that hook to curl with their linebackers almost all game. You'll have one safety in the box. He'll roam. He'll kind of follow your guys like Smith or your running backs, and then you'll have your hook to curl zones on the tight ends. If your tight end isn't, someone like Darren Waller or someone like Kyle Pitts, where they're going to run a lot of vertical routes, you're not going to see them open very much. They're almost going to be a guy that takes that linebacker out of the play or takes that nickel back out of the play that's in the hook to curl, and you throw it to the outsides, let him get to the sidelines and run. Dallas Goedert is not, a route runner. He's not going to be a guy that just gets open and gets a lot of separation on his routes. He's going to be a guy that falls into gaps, falls into windows, and Jalen Hurts is just dinking dunking him for 8 to 12 yards every time. You'll see a lot of games with him where he has 8 catches, 84 yards, and a score, and it's because everybody's scheming around those receivers, and they're more than likely playing man on both of them on the outsides, or they're going to try to play just a lot of base zones. And with that safety still kind of helping AJ and whatnot, then that hook to curl, that gap to the outside or the gap to the inside is going to open up because that safety is taken. So I'm not worried about Goddard. I do think that he has a lot better of a matchup this week with Minnesota because Minnesota's linebackers they're not as good as taking away tight ends as New England is in the past. That might change. I haven't seen too much of that defensive scheme in Minnesota yet, but I do like the matchup. I think Goddard scores a point in fantasy if you're worried about that. I do think he gets a lot more targets and whatnot. I don't think you'll see a lot more goose eggs, but DeAndre Swift's a whole different question. Philadelphia has way too many running backs for me to be like, hey, play DeAndre Swift, So don't worry about Dallas Goedert. I'll even play the anytime touchdown tonight. That's how much I like it.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, and I mean, just there's a lot of running back rooms where you're like, stay away. But with the Swift Gainwell, I was just very surprised at the complete disparity in the amount of looks that Gainwell got. I know that didn't Sirianni come out in a press conference 2 weeks ago with a Kenneth Gainwell is RB1 T-shirt on or something ridiculous
like that. He does that stuff on purpose. They all make 1.5 million. They don't care who's out there, bro. Nick's like, hey, have at it. At it. It's like New England. It's like Philly. It's like Kansas City.
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is running back 3 on that depth chart.
Yep. And he got first look of the game. Yeah. 1st and 10, their first drive of the season, he is on the field starting and gets a carry right out of the gates. These coaches know we want to gamble. They know we play fantasy. They do not care. Yeah. No, I was just like I said, it kind of 14 carries for Gainwell, four catches on 4 targets, and DeAndre Swift's out there with 1 carry, 1 catch. Just the disparity of the two.
When you think about it, though, 2 very similar playing styles.
Yep.
I'm a believer that if you put an athlete in the right scheme in the NFL, he will succeed.
Mm-hmm.
At all times, especially at running back. Sirianni loves Gainwell. He knows that offense. He knows he can trust him. Why am I going to put the same player on the field and give him the ball where I have to risk injury? For one thing, we just got this guy. I got to risk injury, and I got to risk him knowing where the hell he's supposed to be.
Yeah, so he's one of those as well where and I think week to week is going to be so difficult to call it. Like you go into this weekend, tonight's game, and it'll be completely flipped. Everyone that's picked up Gainwell off the waiver wire, and all of a sudden this is DeAndre Swift night, and he's going to get 15 carries.
Exactly.
Again, you factor in the fact that you've got one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the league, if not the best.
Power. He just has power run.
Yeah, who's himself taking 9-10 carries a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, you've got these guys that are demanding the ball at wide receiver. You're throwing them the ball 10, 12 times a game. Like, how many plays are you actually running to give everyone a fair shot? So
the only running back that has value on Philadelphia is whoever the hell is getting the ball on the goal line. That'll be my answer to anybody who's questioning that.
And this weekend it was. I don't know. I don't really know the red zone touches, but I obviously know none of them scored this weekend. They got a defensive touchdown, and then Devonta scored, and that was it. They kind of closed up shop and just let Jake Elliott kick field goals for in the second half. But
Dallas Goedert, and AJ Brown tonight, people. You heard it here first.
I do like that, man. Very quickly, anyone else on the slate for Sunday that who's your Any? Have you got anyone or
Baker Mayfield to throw for 400 yards?
My quick treble is the Green Bay money line. I know we're not talking about them. They did look pretty decent against the team that they played last weekend.
I wouldn't even say that, but we'll go. Don't even say that. He had 2 50-plus yard receptions. I don't want to talk about it. Green Bay money line. Go with the other two.
LA Chargers -3 in Tennessee.
I like that.
And then Miami -2 in New England again. I think New England they kept it close in the second half against that Eagles team that was kind of falling over themselves almost in the second half. I don't think Tua with his 400+ yards and Tyreek Hill going for 202 touchdowns. I don't think New England keep up with them. And -2, I was very surprised to see that be where the line is. So yeah, those three is +530. So that's my treble for the week.
Yeah, I'll give you two that I liked when I was looking this early. I like Seattle +6 against Detroit. I think Detroit should have looked a lot better, and I think Seattle kind of got punched in the mouth with the Rams. I think they do look better, especially on offense. And then the Cowboys and Jets over/under is 39.5. I just don't. That's
both
just too low.
Defenses, though. Both good defenses.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
they're going to come up with that one.
Exactly, right? But Dallas will probably get 3 or 4 more possessions than we think with Zach Wilson. Especially, they might get even more. To be honest with you, that defense is. Micah Parsons might set a record. And then I did see a weird one actually. They have Washington as the underdog against Denver. I like Washington +3.5. So I got you a treble right there.
Like it. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone. If you have any more questions about this Sunday's action, then like you said, jump in the Gilded. Find us on Twitter at PW_housemoney. Ask us any questions. Let us know what you're betting on this weekend. Best of luck either way. Whether you're tailing us, fading us, and we'll catch you next Thursday playing with more house money.